Do you know how many wild dragons live on Dragonstone? There are 3 legendary wild dragons on the island. The first is Sheepstealer. It is considered the ugliest dragon in the series, and also the only wild dragon ever successfully claimed by a rider. Its scales are a dull gray-brown color, with large areas of damaged and missing scales across its body. Sheepstealer is around 80 years old, making it one of the oldest dragons alive, second only to Vhagar. After being claimed by Reyna, it took part in several battles during the Dance of the Dragon. The second is Grey Ghost, the youngest of the wild dragons. Unlike the rough and damaged Sheepstealer, Grey Ghost has a long, slender body covered in pale gray scales. Its movement is extremely agile, similar to dragons like Moondancer and Dreamfire. In the books, Grey Ghost was never claimed by anyone, but its ending was tragic. After encountering the injured Sunfire on Dragonstone, Grey Ghost was attacked and killed by the wounded Golden Dragon. The last one is the oldest and largest of the 3, the Cannibal. The Cannibal has charcoal black scales and eerie green eyes. Not only is it extremely aggressive, but its size is said to be close to Vhagar's. Like Grey Ghost, it was never claimed by a rider. The reason behind its terrifying name is its unusual behavior. The Cannibal was known for feeding on the bodies of other dragons, including dead dragon remains. That habit made it one of the most feared wild dragons on Dragonstone. 3 wild dragons, 3 completely different personalities. But which one do you think is the most terrifying? Everyone sees The Odyssey as a heroic journey home, but whether it's Homer's original epic or Christopher Nolan's new adaptation, there are many darker details hidden beneath the surface that most viewers completely miss. Here are 3 details that many people overlook. The first detail, a strange inconsistency that may reveal the ending. During the Palace Massacre, when Odysseus fights the suitors, he is attacked and wounded. Both injuries appear on his back, while his neck remains untouched. But in the final reunion scene, Penelope specifically treats and wraps his neck. A small detail, but one that makes people question what really happened. The second detail, recognizing the real Odysseus was never about his face. Penelope didn't prove his identity through appearance. She tested him with their private marriage bed. Their bed was built around the root of an olive tree. The tree was connected to the ground, meaning the bed could never be moved. Only the true Odysseus would know that secret. The third detail, Calypso's gift was not love, but an eternal prison. Many people believe the sea nymph trapped Odysseus because she loved him, but what she offered was something far darker. She promised him immortality, no aging, no death, eternal youth. Sounds like a blessing, but an endless life without a homeland, without identity, and without the people he loved could become a fate worse than death. Because sometimes, the cruelest punishment isn't dying. It's being forced to live forever with nothing left to return to. What other hidden details from the Odyssey have you noticed?
How did Odysseus really escape from the Cyclops' cave? The secret is hidden in just one name. Without reading the original epic, it's easy to miss how brilliant this plan really was. Many people think the wooden spear was the key to victory, but the wine was only the beginning. The real weapon was a clever game of words. Odysseus and his men were trapped inside the cave of Polyphemus the Cyclops. The giant had already begun devouring his crew, so Odysseus came up with a plan. He offered Polyphemus strong wine, slowly getting the Cyclops drunk. When the giant asked for his name, Odysseus gave a carefully chosen answer. "My name is Nobody." Later that night, while Polyphemus was asleep, Odysseus and his men heated and sharpened a wooden stake. They drove it into the Cyclops' single eye, leaving him blinded. In pain, Polyphemus began screaming for help. The other Cyclopes outside the cave heard him and asked, "Who hurt you?" Polyphemus shouted back, "Nobody is hurting me." But the other giants understood his words literally. They thought, "No one attacked you. You must just be suffering for no reason." So they walked away. No one entered the cave. With just one word, Odysseus cut off all outside help and created the chance they needed to escape. But the danger wasn't over. The next morning, Polyphemus opened the huge stone door and used his hands to check the sheep leaving the cave, making sure no humans escaped. So Odysseus came up with another trick. He ordered his men to hide beneath the bellies of the sheep, holding tightly onto their wool. As the flock left the cave to graze, Odysseus and his crew escaped with them. The entire plan worked because every step connected perfectly. The wine weakened the enemy. The fake name created confusion. The wooden stake removed the Cyclops' advantage, and the sheep provided the final escape route. Many people admire Odysseus for his legendary bow that no one else could use, but this adventure reveals the real source of his power. Weapons can break, strength can fade, but the ability to outthink impossible situations was always Odysseus' greatest weapon.
Why is Odysseus' helmet open-faced, while Agamemnon's completely covers his face? They are both Greek commanders, but their helmets reveal 2 completely different personalities, and may even hint at their different fates. Odysseus wears an open-faced helmet. His cheeks and face are mostly exposed. This design sacrifices some protection in exchange for better vision and greater flexibility, and that matches the way Odysseus fights. His greatest weapon is not brute force. It is strategy, information, deception, and reading people. He wins battles with his mind, not by simply charging into the enemy. Agamemnon, meanwhile, wears a traditional Corinthian helmet. It is fully enclosed, covering almost his entire face. This represents his position as the supreme leader of the Greek army. But there is another meaning behind the design. kind. As the commander of thousands of soldiers, Agamemnon cannot allow everyone to see his emotions. A hidden face protects his authority and prevents others from easily understanding his thoughts. And there is an even deeper symbolism. Throughout the story, Agamemnon is rarely shown with his true face exposed, almost as if the helmet represents his inability to see what is happening around him, including the betrayals taking place right beside him. One helmet reveals the person behind the warrior, the other hides the person completely. And that difference may have already hinted at the fate waiting for both men.
Why didn't Odysseus bring his legendary bow to the Trojan War? The reason comes down to three important points. First, the bow was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of identity and kingship. The person who could successfully string Odysseus's bow would prove their worth and legitimacy as the true ruler. This is exactly what Penelope's famous challenge revealed. The bow was not simply a tool for fighting. It represented Odysseus himself. Second, Odysseus's greatest weapon was never a blade. While Greek warriors relied on spears, swords, and direct combat, Odysseus fought in a completely different way. The famous Trojan horse plan that changed the entire war was not won through strength. It was built on strategy, deception, and careful planning. A direct battle was never his greatest advantage. On the battlefield, he didn't need a legendary weapon to prove his power. His intelligence was always his strongest weapon. Third, the bow represented friendship and memory. The bow was a gift from Odysseus's close friend Iphitus when they were young. Later, Iphitus died tragically. The bow became one of the only remaining symbols of their friendship. In ancient Greek culture, an object carrying the memory of a lost friend was not something to casually throw into a battlefield filled with blood and destruction. It was a treasured reminder of the person who was gone. So Odysseus leaving the bow behind was not because he didn't need it. The bow was too meaningful to be just another weapon. But if Odysseus had taken the legendary bow to Troy, would the entire war have ended differently?
Did Agamemnon really sacrifice his daughter just to start the Trojan War and bring Helen back? Many people struggle with one question. How could a father send his own daughter to a sacrificial altar? On the surface, it was about taking Helen back, but behind that reason was a much deeper game of power. First, the war was tied to a promise made by all Greek kings. Before Helen married Menelaus, many Greek rulers swore an oath to defend her marriage. When Paris took Helen to Troy, it was not simply about stealing Menelaus's wife. It was a direct challenge to the honor, reputation, and agreement of the entire Greek nobility. A failure to respond would make all those powerful kings look weak. Second, Agamemnon had ambitions far beyond rescuing Helen. Agamemnon wanted to become the undisputed leader of Greece. The conflict with Troy gave him the perfect opportunity. By gathering armies from across Greece and leading a massive expedition, he could strengthen his authority and prove his power. If Troy fell, he would gain wealth, influence, and a reputation that no rival could easily challenge. The death of Iphigenia on the altar was not the only sacrifice caused by the Trojan War. She was simply the first price Agamemnon paid on his path toward greater power. To him, the war was not only about honor, it was also about ambition. So the real question is, if Agamemnon had never dreamed of ruling all of Greece, would he still have sacrificed his own daughter?
Do you know how many different identities Athena used in the Odyssey? In the world of Homer's epic, gods cannot simply walk among humans in their true form. Directly revealing their divine nature could bring consequences. So the gods often use disguise and illusion. They put on mortal appearances, move through the human world, and quietly influence the course of fate. Among them, Athena is the master of this technique. She repeatedly changes her identity to protect Odysseus and his son, guiding them from the shadows. The first disguise, Mentor. Athena often appears as Mentor, an elderly nobleman and trusted friend of Odysseus. Through this identity, she stays beside Telemachus, offering advice and helping him grow stronger. Everyone believes Mentor is simply a wise and kind elder, but the truth is, Mentor is actually another disguise created by Athena. The second disguise, Unnamed Beggar. When Telemachus begins searching for news about his missing father, Odysseus, he is lost and uncertain. During this journey, he encounters a mysterious beggar. The beggar gives him clear guidance. Travel to Sparta, meet Menelaus, search for clues about Odysseus's fate. But this ordinary-looking stranger is once again Athena in disguise. Athena never simply removes every obstacle for Odysseus and Telemachus. She does not fight their battles for them. Instead, she appears as a mortal, offering small hints and guiding them toward their own destiny. The struggles still belong to humans. The gods only light the path ahead, ain't lame. So the real question is, what other disguises of Athena have you noticed in the Odyssey?
Why did hundreds of noble suitors lose to a single old beggar? Many people assume the suitors were simply useless fools. They were not ordinary men. Most of them came from powerful, noble families across Greece. They had wealth, status, and some even had fathers who fought in the Trojan War. But they themselves had never experienced true life-or-death battles. During the 20 years Odysseus was away, they took over his palace. Day after day, they feasted, drank, and enjoyed a life of comfort. Their wealth grew, but their fighting spirit faded. They had every advantage advantage a noble could ask for, except the one thing a true warrior needs: experience. Odysseus was completely different. For 20 years, he survived on the edge of death, 10 years fighting in the Trojan War, then another 10 years wandering across the seas. He faced the Cyclops, the sorceress Circe, the Sirens, and countless other dangers. Every escape was a battle where one mistake meant death. Those years didn't just make him stronger, they sharpened his instincts, his calm under pressure, his combat ability, and most importantly, his ability to plan several moves ahead. The suitors had comfort, Odysseus had survival. They had numbers, Odysseus had experience. So when the helpless old beggar finally revealed his true identity, the outcome was almost decided. They were not defeated because they were weak. They were defeated because they were fighting a man who had spent 20 years learning how to survive impossible situations. But the real question is, if the suitors had recognized Odysseus from the beginning and prepared for a battle, could they have changed their fate?